Part 2. Toxic 14-year-old relationship. So, we missed the bus. Nobody's asking what happened. Nobody, no adult at that school asked what happened or do you need to get away from this fool. So, missed the bus. Didn't have a ride home. I have to walk home. Who walks home with me? Gerald. Cussing me, pushing me the whole way to my house. He didn't walk me all the way home, but he walked me far enough where he could say what he needed to say, push me a few times. Okay. So this was kind of our first incident. Of course, I'm breaking up with you, Gerald. When I get home, of course, on the phone, he calls, breaking up with you, Gerald. I don't want to be with you no more. Oh, he's crying. Of course, well, I was just upset. I'll never do it again. Da 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 da. I'm sad because the girl is crying. So, my 15-year-old brain, I'm thinking I'm 15 by then. Okay. Me and Gerald get back together. This was 15. So, up after that, it was always verbal. Not so much physical. It was verbal, but it was physical at that point. And I believe a time before that at my cousin's, but nothing after that I can remember after that. So, the summer of my freshman year ends, and so that summer, my parents go through whatever they're going through, so they send me back to Kansas to stay with my sister. So I'm gone, and I do school out there, so I'm gone a whole year. So my sophomore year, I do that somewhere else, away from Gerald, and I don't really talk to Gerald for a whole year, because back then, it was long distance charges and all that stuff. So I really didn't talk to Gerald for a year. I didn't. So I turned 16 out there. So the end of my sophomore year, which is going to be the beginning of my junior year, I come back to North Carolina. I don't really see Gerald. But I end up running into him, I think, at a party. I end up running into him at a party. So we start talking again. So this is the beginning of my sophomore year. By this time, Joe has quit school. He is no longer in school, and he is on house arrest. So now that I'm thinking of it, it was not at a party. It was at his party because he was throwing parties then. Because he was on house arrest, and I ended up at his house at a party. That's how we ended up talking again. That's how I started talking again, because he would throw parties because he couldn't go anywhere, so he would have to bring everybody to him. Why I went to his house to a party, don't ask me. I am 16. Stay with me. So we go, we start talking again. And his house is the party house. There's liquor, there's beer, there's all the things. I come back. By this time, my parents, when I came back to North Carolina that summer, my parents were back together. Okay. So that whole summer with Gerald, I'm partying with Gerald. Nothing really happens. So going into my junior year, my parents split up again. My mom leaves, moves to Ohio, So I am left with my dad, a 16-year-old that, wasn't with her parents the year before. Um, so then we're going into this year. My mom's gone. I'm not with my parents again. My dad's doing what dads do. He's really not paying me no attention. He's single now. He's home. So I don't know why, but Gerald's not in school. So I decide I'm not going to school anymore. And I move out of my dad's house and I move in with my brother and his girlfriend. And my brother was going through his whole thing. It was such a bad idea. It was such a bad decision on everybody's parts. My parents, it was such a bad decision. But stay with me. This is my story. I'm telling it. I move in with my brother and his girlfriend. So by this time, Gerald is off house arrest. By this time, Gerald is off house arrest. By the time I move, by the time we go through the summer and do all this stuff, and by the time I'm living with my brother, Gerald is no longer on house arrest. So Gerald is coming over, staying with me. We're drinking, we're partying, we're doing all the things. We're doing all the things. This lasted a couple months. For some reason, me and Gerald got into an argument. It was about sex, now that I remember, because I didn't want to have full-blown sex. We got into a bad argument. He leaves. I don't see Gerald anymore. My parents decide to get back together, so my dad comes to my brother's house and tells me I have to come back home. My mom's coming back from Ohio. Everything's going to be great. I think I'm 17 at this time. I think I'm 7. No. Anyway, the school year hadn't finished, so I go back to school. I get back in school. I'm behind, so I'm having to go to regular school and night school to get back on track. In order to do this, I had to go to a alternative school so I could graduate on time and do this because I had messed up totally at my high school. Okay? So, I don't really see Gerald then. I see him here and there, but we're not really together. I'm dating other people. During this transition, I meet my son's dad, but we just meet my junior year. Whatever, nothing serious. Then we don't talk. We meet my junior year. We date a little while. We see each other. Then we stop. That is my son's dad. We'll come back to him in another story. But this story is about Gerald. So, junior year, I don't really see him. And the end of my junior year, going into my senior year, somehow or another, I reconnect with Gerald. Never ending story. So, we're at the beginning of my senior year. I'm at this high school, and I did all the things because I was away from Gerald. I did all the things that I needed to do to get back on track so I could graduate on time, to graduate the year I'm supposed to. I did so much that I had enough credits at this particular school to stop going to school in January. But then I would be able to walk and graduate with my class in May. So by January, I'm done with school. By December, the semester going into January, I'm done with school. Okay? I'm done with school. So I get a little job. Gerald takes me because he has a car by then. His grandmother had bought him a car. He takes me back and forth to work. We're dating and everything. I'm still living with my parents though. This is in January. I turn 18 in April. On my 18th birthday, I move out of my parents' house and move in with Gerald. Because I was let me back up. Because I was working and everything, and Gerald, he would get little jobs here and there, but nothing. But I had a steady job. But he was a year older than me. So he was already 18 before my 18th birthday, okay? Because he was a year older than me. So we went and got an apartment and everything and did all the things, and we made a plan. When you turn 18, your parents can no longer tell you what to do. So on your 18th birthday, you're going to move out. And we're going to move into this apartment together. And that's what we did on my 18th birthday. So April, on my 18th birthday, I moved in with Gerald in this apartment. Okay? And it all started. it went bad. So he starts doing the things that he's more verbal when we first moved there. Then it got physical, where the hitting and the pushing, and we're in there fighting. Because by this time I'm fighting Gerald back. So we in this apartment just raising holy hell. The neighbors downstairs knew us, the neighbors across the hall knew us, everybody in that building knew us. Like, we was raising hell in that apartment. Okay? So that May, my parents have me a graduation party, and I get money for graduation. Okay? Stay with me. We move in April. That May, probably going into June. So we probably paid rent one time. That May going into June, my parents have me a graduation party. And I get money for graduation. Graduation gifts, I get money. So I get enough graduation money to pay our rent. I'll never forget, our rent was $265. I give it to Gerald because the apartment's in his name. Because, I was a minor at the time, so the apartment's in his name. Here, Gerald, here's the rent for next month. Because I got it for graduation. I'm working. I got a little job. He's working. But here's the rent from my graduation. Okay. So we'll go, we're in an apartment and everything. We're still fighting, raising hell. We get a note on the door. Not paying the rent. We're getting evicted. Gerald, what? I gave you the money to pay the rent. What happened? Why wasn't the rent paid? Gerald looks at me and says, I tried to flip it and it didn't work out, and I lost all the money, and I did not pay the rent. What? What do you mean? We're getting evicted and you didn't pay the rent. What? So what did you do with my money? I tried to flip it. I tried to, make a little sale and tried to flip it, but it didn't work out as planned. It didn't work out as planned. So we get evicted for non-payment of rent. So back to my parents' house we go. I go. Back to his grandmother's house he goes. But we still together. No, I did not leave Gerald after he lost my money. No, still with Gerald. So I'm 18 by then. So I go back to my parents' house and, I'm still partying. And, I'm hanging out with my friends more and with Gerald less. And this becomes a problem. And we are almost at 15 minutes, so we're going to do part 3 of my toxic relationship that began at age 14. So we're going to be at part 3 when we return. All right.